In this video, I'm going to show you two different ways to build a golf tracer. This video was one of my most highly requested in the comments, so I absolutely had to make it. That said, I know absolutely nothing about golf. I don't play golf and I don't watch golf, so I'm really sorry if I happen to say something wrong about golf, but I'm going to do my best to make these animations as easy as possible for you to use in your own videos. Go ahead and open up Apple Motion. If you don't get the project browser, you can go up to File and select New from Project Browser. From there, we're going to select this button that says Import as Project at the bottom and locate the footage that we want to bring in. From there, we can just click on Import as Project. Now, Motion has already set up this project to have the right frame rate and resolution for us, so we don't have to think about any of those aspects. Now, this first method that I'm going to show you is a really simple method for creating a golf tracer. However, it's not going to be the most accurate. So this is very useful when you can't see the ball throughout the entire shot, but you just want to give a general idea of where the ball went. The first thing we need to do is go ahead and select our Bezier tool. Then we can scroll forward in our timeline to where the ball is about to get hit, which is right here. You could even push M to add a marker in your timeline. That would make it a little bit simpler to find later on. Then from there, I'm going to go ahead and click directly on the ball with my Bezier tool. Then we could play forward until we think the ball has landed and just kind of get a rough estimate of where the ball has gone. I happen to think that it went directly into the hole, so it was a hole in one. So we're just going to click on that and then hold and drag, and that will offer these Bezier options. Now, you may find that you can't quite get that arc as high as you would like it to, so go ahead and let go. Then we'll push Command- to zoom out in our viewer. We can then see these handles, and we can just click and drag those until we are very happy with how the handles look. Now that we've done that, we can go ahead and push enter, and that will finish off the line. However, if I push Shift Z to zoom back in, you'll notice that the center of this line is filled in. So we need to fix that. Go on over into your inspector and locate this fill option, which we can disable. From there, you'll see down here at the bottom, we have our outline options. Now, there are all sorts of things here. We could change the color, we could change the brush type. To get this looking as best as we possibly can, I'm going to recommend that we change the brush type from solid over to airbrush. However, you'll notice that that kind of gives us this soft edge around our line. So if we go on over, we'll notice this brush profile option. Go ahead and select that by clicking on this down arrow, and you'll see that it starts off white and then it goes to black. This is indicating the softness of the edge. Go ahead and just click on that black box and drag it off to delete it, and now we have a nice solid edge. From there, we can go on over into the stroke options. In here, we can change the stroke color mode. Currently, it's set to use brush color, but let's change that over to color over stroke. And now you'll notice that we have this nice gradient line happening over the duration of our stroke. We could even go in and click on this down arrow to change up how this gradient looks, so you could get your own custom colors by changing each of these, or we could use one of the preset options. So I'll go ahead and just select Desert Sun, and now you'll see that we have this beautiful gradient happening over our line. Now, something you'll notice is that this line is equally thick all the way throughout, and I want it to look like it's going off in 3D space. So to achieve that, we'll need to shrink one of these ends. Going on over to the left-hand side, you'll notice there's this width over stroke option. Go ahead and click on this down arrow, and now we have this green line indicating the width of the line over time. So if we find the right-hand side, we can go ahead and drag that down all the way to 0, and now you'll notice that my brush thins out over the duration of the line. So all we need to do from here is actually animate the line drawing on. And fortunately, that's very easy. Select your Bezier line, then go on up to Behaviors, go down to Shape, and then select Right On. This is going to auto-animate the line drawing on, but at this point it's very, very slow and we want it to speed up quite a bit. Find this right on parameter that's down in your timeline. It should be this purple line. If you don't have that purple line, you'll need to go up to this gear icon and make sure it's enabled. From there, we'll find the start of where we want the right on animation to begin, which is right when the ball gets hit, and we'll push I. That will trim it down to that point. Then we can slide forward to where we think the ball has landed, maybe a couple seconds in, and we'll push O. Unfortunately, I don't understand gravity very well, so I don't know how long it would take for that ball to get to the other side. But if we push play, we now have this beautiful animation of this line drawing throughout as if it hits the other side. Now you could of course select this right on animation and change the speed, which is currently set to constant. we could change it over to something like decelerate. So it starts off really fast and then slows down as it gets to the end of the animation. So that's just one of the 2 different ways I'm going to show you how to build a golf tracer. If you want a much more accurate way but more time consuming method, then I'll show that next. It's going to be important that you're able to see the ball throughout the duration of the shot. So to achieve this effect, we'll just go ahead and click on this down arrow and then select the circle tool. Then we'll find the first frame of wherever the ball is, which is right in here. And we'll go ahead and just click and drag to create a circle around the ball, and if you hold shift, it'll be perfectly symmetrical. Letting go, it'll give us this big red blob. Go on over into your inspector, go to the shape settings, and disable the outline so you just have a white circle. From there, we'll go up to the top right hand corner and find this make particles option. Go ahead and click on that. And you'll notice now that this ball is creating a whole bunch of particles, which is not quite the effect we're going for. So what we'll need to do is set the speed of all of these particles down to 0 so that they aren't flying off in all directions. To achieve that, we can go on over to the left side and locate the speed slider and drag that down to 0. So now if we were to animate this emitter, wherever the emitter goes, it's going to leave a particle there in its place. Selecting your emitter, go on over into the properties and find the position parameter. Find the very first frame that you want it to animate, which is right in here, and I will click to add a keyframe. Also, I'm going to go ahead and just drop the opacity down to 0. That way none of these particles are getting in my way. I can zoom in with Command plus, and then I can push space and click and drag to move around my viewer. With the emitter selected, we'll push forward on the arrow keys to move forward 1 frame, and we'll go ahead and just click and drag to move this emitter directly onto the ball. From there, I'm going to push shift and right arrow, and that's going to move everything forward 10 frames. Then we can go ahead and move this emitter once again so it's right on the ball. Then we'll move forward another 10 frames. I'll hold shift, forward arrow, and we'll just keep on doing that until we have done the entire animation that we need. Now that I've finished the animation, if I push Shift Z, I will zoom back out and we can see the entire animation taking place on the screen. We can go back to the very beginning of this animation, and selecting that emitter, I'm going to push I to trim it down to just that point so that they only start emitting right as the ball is being hit. From there, we can go ahead and increase the opacity so we can start to see these particles being drawn on. However, you may notice that there are a whole bunch of spots between each of these emission points. So to fix that, we'll go into our emitter settings and find the birth rate option. Go ahead and drag that all the way up to 300, and if you find that you're still having some gaps, you can go ahead and increase that number until all of your gaps are filled out throughout the entire animation. After that, we'll scroll on down to the color mode and change it to color over life. This is going to give us that nice gradient look that we had on the previous shot, and from there we can go into the color over life mode and change the gradient to whatever we like. I'll go ahead and set that to desert sun so it really pops from the background. If you happen to notice that your emitter is disappearing as you move throughout the animation, you may need to increase your life slider. So go ahead and just drag that up for the duration of your project. And finally, I want to have a nice little scaling down of all of these particles. So to achieve that, we'll go to the very beginning, we'll find the scale parameter, we'll click to add a keyframe, then we can move to the very end and set that scale down to 0. So pushing play, we have this beautiful golf tracer happening on the screen. It's got this great gradient look to it, and it's extremely accurate to wherever the ball goes on screen. So my video recording completely died at this point, but that was pretty much everything I had to say. So thank you so much for watching. If this video was helpful to you, consider pressing that like button, consider subscribing, and you may want to check out this video where I show you my complete workflow to go from Final Cut Pro to Apple Motion and then back again.